Hello, Bat fans. Welcome back to Play Some Video Games, where Kevin and I discuss the Telltale Batman series. Uh, every episode as it comes out, we'll discuss it so you can join in on the fun. We don't want to be too spoilery, but there will be some spoilers. I recommend that you tread lightly. There may have been, if Kevin edited it properly, a little spoiler warning at the beginning of this, but last time he didn't do it, so it's okay. We won't hold it against him this time.
Whoops.
But Kevin, what's up, man? I didn't even see you there.
Oh, well, hey, well, I used the side door. You left the front door locked this time, so it was kind of Alfred had to let me in. So
Note to self: fire Alfred and bar the side door.
there you go.
Got it. Okay.
No, I'm good. I'm good, man. Excited to talk some Batman. This was a great episode, and I know we've been waiting like a couple days now to dig into this.
Yeah, I completed this, I think it was on Monday. And excuse me, because I'm going to be coughing here probably a lot. So if you hear me just automatically cut out, I'm trying to save the dear listener from their eardrums bleeding from coughing. So if it happens, like if all of a sudden you hear me kind of start to break up and then that was a cough. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying there? So anyway. But yeah, we played this about a few days ago. It was Monday. We're recording now on Thursday that I played through it. And as soon as I did, I messaged you and I was like, dude, have you played it yet? And you were like, I'm going to finish it tomorrow. I was like, you're going to fit what? Two sittings? But dude, this episode,
and then you wanted to record the second I finished it. You said, "Let's talk about it now?" Question mark.
I was just like, well, so we're both awake right now, and we both played it, so let's make this happen. So this is the penultimate episode, as they've come to coin the term. This is the fourth episode of 5, which is sad when you think about it.
Yes,
because this has been a great ride so far. A really strong season, but we got the chance to pick up after the cliffhanger from last time.
Yep.
Last time we had, Bruce was stuck in a frozen chamber about to die. We weren't really sure how he was going to get out of the situation. But I do have to say, just to start this out here, I was kind of disappointed about how he got out of there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was too easy. It was a cop for sure.
Yeah, it was just like, hey, guess what? I have this thing, and I'm going to do bat magic, and we're going to get out of here. You know what I mean?
It's very un-Batman. Like there wasn't a lot of thought process. He didn't have to deduce the situation. It wasn't premeditated. So you'd be like, well, in case this happens, I'm prepared for this. It was just like, oh, well, I got this magic thing and I'm going to get myself out of the situation without anybody's help or really even thinking about it for more than like 10 seconds. So yeah, it was a little anticlimactic to start it off for sure.
Yeah. But, so after we got out of the frozen chamber, we actually had a lot of action pickup at that point. And in this episode, something that was different from the other ones, I think every other one in this season up until this one has had a point where you choose to go address a situation as Batman or address a situation as Bruce. Is that correct?
Yes. As far as I know, I think it's been every single episode this season.
Okay. So with this one, just right after the scene, he's like, enough with Bruce Wayne. Batman's got this, And it's really kind of an interesting thing because then you're like, okay, game time. Batman's in the house. There's no choices at this point. This is what's going to happen. So I was getting kind of excited at that point because that meant that the story was more tailored to that experience, to that,
yes.
Turn of events is what's going to happen. What did you think when they said, okay, Batman time?
I was excited because we had, if I recall, the last episode was really heavy on Bruce Wayne, which has been fine. They've done a good job with this, but this season, as great as the writing's been and the action and the content, there's been very little just Batman being Batman happening. And this was like, all right, the AC/DC Back in Black was like playing in my head as, he's like, it's time for Batman to handle this. I was like, yes, let's do it.
Mm-hmm. So you were able to leave there. You went and checked under the Lotus Club, and you had the chance to have a Batman type interrogation with a guy. And you could either force him, intimidate him, do different things. I took the more kind approach, because I'm a gentle soul, but I'm assuming you took the more intimidation route, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Yep. There's no time to mess around.
Yeah, no time to mess around. What did you think about the when you got there? You could see the aftermath of all of what had gone down. People were dead in the hallways. What'd you think?
Yeah, I was a little surprised, but then I remembered back to how this season started with the violence of the Riddler. So it kind of just seemed like, okay, they're taking it serious now. It's no longer, kind of this, I don't want to say rom-com, but like the whole dynamic of the villains and then Bruce being part of their club and the bouncing around back and forth. A lot of the violence and action hadn't really felt real per se. Like there wasn't a menacing threat behind it. But now it was like, okay, I'm let loose as Batman finally, but these guys are also completely let loose in what they're doing now too.
Mm-hmm.
Plus also part of me wondered if the agency was involved in this portion too, because you got to remember they're all trying to take the Lotus Club at this point. So I was a little bit like, well, who did this at first?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a couple times in this episode where you're kind of like that, right? Like what actually happened, what went down here. So the reason we were trapped in the frozen tundra machine before was because we chose to save Selena, right? We both chose that option.
Yep.
And when we're introduced to her, how do you react?
Good. I chose the route that I was happy to see her and that I wanted to team up with her to work again together, because I just felt like at this point, with everything that was going on, regardless of whether it was the villains or it was the agency, I figured having somebody there was probably the best choice.
Okay. Hold on 1 second. Sorry.
No problem.
1 second.
He's a little choked up over Selena coming back. I know. It was emotional.
I know. I'm choked up. The left here. So, I was the same way. You see her and you can tell her, you can see that she's wounded. You can tell her, it's too dangerous for her. Or you can fight with her, or I think you can even send her away. Some of the options, and she was glad with the option that we're going to do this together. Scenario, because that was like, I was hoping you'd say that was her reply, which is nice. I wonder what would have happened if you would have said something different.
She would remember that, I'm sure. She would just look at you. Selena will remember that.
Yeah, probably would. So you get inside, you see the Pact, the people hanging out in there. We see Freeze doing stuff. Still underutilized, Mr. Freeze.
Oh, big time.
I was just waiting for this to be like his big moment, but he doesn't really have it. Nope. But Carly's here, Bane's here, John's is here. So the whole Pact team is there, and you got to try to figure out what's happening, right? Mm-hmm. So how did you address the situation?
I believe I went in like guns blazing. Like I just went all in right after him. There wasn't any sneaking around or trying to surprise. I just went in and went right after him, dug in and tore it up as only Batman can, to be honest.
Yeah. But you did say guns blazing. Batman doesn't use guns. That was a conversation that we had a little later in the episode. So
right, batarangs blazing, I guess.
There you go. EMP's blazing.
Yes.
So it was a situation that you could go in and you could, take different options in the fights, which I kind of got sidetracked in a way.
Oh,
with these fights, I was forgetting that I had to do button presses, and I just wanted to see what was going to happen.
Yeah,
it was so like engrossing, and I wanted to watch it. And in fact, I recorded this on Mixer as I played it, and I can't wait to actually just go back and watch it, just to take it in again. The story, because I was just like, this is really interesting information that they're talking about.
Yep.
This is cool stuff that's happening, and then all of a sudden this fight just kind of seamlessly happens. Did you have any issues as far as a technical difficulty in this episode?
No, actually, I didn't at any point in this episode. There were later on in this episode, I did have a couple of those. Oh wait, I have to push a button here too moments. But we'll address that when we get to that scene. But no, once again, another good outing from TellTale where I didn't have any audio mess ups, video mess ups, controls, nothing. Everything seemed to run fluidly this time around.
Good, because I would have figured that this part where you're fighting like Bane and everybody is the part that
would have been the one, sure,
because it's the most action. I think this is kind of like episode 4 last time, I think, was the jailbreak scene that you had the guy that had a weird
the floating
facial
eyes and teeth. Yeah, no face.
Yeah, exactly, no face. No face.
No face. That's a new villain.
He's a distant cousin of Harvey Dent.
Yes.
So it was a really cool seeing how it all played out. Um, when you got to the point of Catwoman and the agency coming, tell her to go. I'm assuming tell her to
Yes,
run.
I told her to run because I knew the agency right away would just assume she was one of the pack still. So I
Mhm,
told her to go.
mhm.
Get out.
And John as well, right? Because
Yes,
you tell him to go, or does he just kind of leave automatically?
I'm pretty sure he leaves automatically. I don't remember telling him either or. I think he just takes off. He escapes the situation, as did Harley. So
Right. Harley obviously gets away.
yeah.
So the Mr. Freeze was in a chamber,
Mhm.
um, and um, Bane was knocked out in my scenario. I'm assuming that's pretty similar for you.
Yes, yep, same thing. Bane was unconscious after hitting that thing in the middle.
Yeah. So what did you do for Mr. Freeze? How did you approach that situation?
So, all right, the thing with Freeze was tough because as we learned the motivation of the pact and why they were pursuing it, it almost doesn't seem that bad when you think about it. And that kind of what drives me nuts. And I don't know if it's because of Batman the animated series kind of making us all soft towards Mr. Freeze. You always kind of have a soft spot that he's just doing this for his wife. So I actually took the nice approach where he begged to have the temperature brought down so that he could try and heal from the virus. I did as looked like 86% of people as of when I played it. Actually, no, it was more than 94% of people chose to drop the temperature. I had a little empathy there for what was going on, and I don't know why. It's just, like I said, ever since Batman the Animated Series, you almost feel bad for Mr. Freeze more than feel that he's a menacing character.
He's tormented.
Yeah,
I think that's probably the right word for it. But so with mine, when he first asked me to do it, I chose silence as the option. So I
didn't do it at first. I think I told him I wasn't going to do it, and then he still gave me the information. So then I dropped the temperature as like thanks.
Yeah. So I same thing for me. Then I just did the silence for the first option. He gave the information, and then I dropped it down. The lady watched me, and she didn't say anything. So
yeah.
As far as I can tell, there's no repercussions at this point for it, but there might be in the fourth episode. Who knows?
Well, I mean, maybe you got to remember who was watching was the Avesta though. So
right, and
she's kind of on Team Bruce Wayne anyway. So
yeah, and we come to find out she knows who Bruce and Batman are, and she told Waller.
Yes.
How did you handle that situation where you told her and she was like, you're mad?
I put that I understand where she was coming from and having to tell at the time. Like, I don't think she realized at that point what Waller was really after, what her motivations really are, and you know how blurred her lines are. So I feel like she didn't really have a choice at that point. She was just doing her job. So I didn't take it out. I wasn't angry with her or anything.
Yeah, I told her she was just doing her job, and I think they were pretty good. They're on the same page.
Yeah.
I didn't go so far to tell her because you went on a little trip later, and she's like, "Man, I wish we would have been in the Batmobile." And as we know, the Batmobile and the car that he was in is the same car.
Oh, I told her.
I was just like, I was like, next time. I told her next time, and then she's like, "Oh, there's gonna be a next time."
Oh, hey, Bruce.
So, really cool, just the way that the story progresses and the way it goes on. You go back, you go check out the Riddler's body. You find out why they want his body. What do you think of that whole subplot?
Yeah, so this part is a little un-Batman-esque to me, I think, a little bit. The fact that it's almost gone to a borderline sci-fi-ish type plot with that aspect. Like, oh, the Riddler was immune and he transformed into something much better. But, you know, in the long term, that's not a good thing. They think it's healing them, but it's actually doing more damage in the long term. So it just seemed a little un-Batman-esque. Like, that wouldn't be something Riddler would do, would be messing with like biochemistry. That's something I could see Freeze doing, but all these other characters involved, it seemed a little uncharacteristic. It's fine for what they were trying to do. I get it. It just was a little iffy to me.
Yeah, a little easy. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So you hear John up in the room, and you have a little situation there with him. How did you handle that? You got to talk a little more right now because I'm about to cough again.
no, that's fine. All right, so John, this we can get into this part because like the next couple scenes kind of revolve heavily around John. This whole episode overall, I was selecting almost every single option I could to keep him from becoming the Joker, which may sound weird because as a Batman fan, That's what you want. You want Batman and Joker. That's the epitome of what, Batman fans want. That's the ultimate, heaven and hell, God and Satan type scenario. Like that's what it is. And I just didn't want it to happen. And I don't know why. I think that's just the way they developed John as a character. So, I kind of recoerced John back into my good graces, saying, no, buddy, it's us against them. And we have to, stick together and do this and that. So I kept him in my good graces, but I got nervous every time like something Joker-esque came out of him. Like, it's like, I just don't want it to happen. I don't know why.
Mm-hmm. Same way. I want to see if I can influence his ability, and see if I can save him, because this is the most fleshed out background we've ever gotten for a Joker.
Oh God, yes.
And I'm just excited to see where it takes it. Episode 5 is going to be really interesting, I think.
Oh yeah. So,
did you end the conversation with him? Like, were his last words? Give me 1 second. I'm coughing in here.
Okay. The anticipation is killing me. What was his last words?
Were his last words funny? I thought you came here to check on me.
Yes.
Okay. Because I got that from him, and I thought I handled the conversation pretty well, because he puts down the gun. He just kind of walks out. I trust him to go do the thing on his own without me tagging along.
Same thing. I think the reason why, at least for us, I don't know if anything would have changed differently, is because at least I did, maybe you did as well. We kind of kept making the conversation back to Harley, and not like, John, it's okay, John. What's wrong with you, John? Cheer up, John. Like, it's not, it was always just kind of, my answers always brought it back to, hey, we need to figure out what's going on with Harley here. We can't let this go on unnoticed. Like, and I think he kind of resented that just a little bit. And I think that's why that line came out at the end.
Mm-hmm. And, thinking about this scene at the end here, we're at the halfway point now on this episode.
Yeah. Yep.
It has just kind of flown by. It's, for me, it took just a little bit over an hour to play through it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a little bit on the short side, to be honest, because usually I think they're about 90 minutes or so.
Yeah.
This was a quick one, but man, the pace was so good. Like, it just was engrossing, and you didn't realize the time was flying.
Totally.
But so you get to the Batcave, and this was something that reminded me of the Batman and Robin movie. I don't know if you got this or not, but Alfred was like on the floor, kind of having some medical issues.
Yes.
And if you remember back to the Batman and Robin movie, which you should probably just forget it anyway, they gave him a disease that Mr. Freeze's wife had that conveniently would, heal Alfred and heal Nora.
Yeah.
But what'd you think of that? Did you get that flash of Batman and Robin?
I didn't think of it, but now that you say that, I can totally see where you're going with it. It's just that the whole, and this is another instance of something I just dreading happens. Like, I don't want anything to happen to Alfred. Ever since the first Batman TellTale game, like, I did everything in that one to prevent anything bad to happening to Alfred, like, and being concerned with Alfred. So it's like, it's the same situation where, like, anytime he gets sick or, clearly something's wrong in this one, and I think that's going to be a pinnacle or maybe even a cliffhanger at the end of where this is going. But it's, I'm dreading it. I don't want it to happen. It's like, no, we can't have, Batman without Alfred. That's just not right. I mean, you already lost Lucius earlier. Like, you can't have him lose everybody and everything, but it's Batman. Apparently, nothing's safe here.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned Lucius, but we have his daughter in the show or in the episode. And, she's kind of brought on like conversation about how Alfred's doing and things like that. And she's presenting her thoughts on her outfit.
Yeah.
And when she brought this up, I was like, this is a little early on in the process for you to be wanting an outfit. I mean, no, you haven't even trained. You haven't done anything.
You haven't done anything. You've literally done nothing.
Mm-hmm. What'd you think when she brought that up, and then when she brought her next idea up?
Yeah, so the next idea up, she brought the outfit up. I was like, wow, they're going really quick with this now all of a sudden for being, she was heavily involved in episode 1. I think she was decently involved in episode 2, but then 3, I don't think she was in at all. Or if she was, it was very, very minor. And then all of a sudden to be like, hey, I'm your new sidekick. It just seems really, really bold, which I guess is some of that Fox, I don't want to say intuition, but ambition rather to move and go forward. But I never really pictured her as being like, I'm going to go out in the field with you. Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess maybe they're shaping her up to be like Batgirl or something down the line, but I always thought more she was going to be like Oracle, you know, I mean, we know, but if the listeners aren't there, like Batman's tech expert,
Mm-hmm.
and eyes in the sky. I always picture her as more of that kind of character as opposed to I'm going to go out on the streets and handle the baddies too. So I kind of was like, no, let's not do that. And then when she brought up the whole guns issue, I mean, any real Batman fan wouldn't select anything other than Batman doesn't use guns.
Mm-hmm.
Never, no, never. Like, you know, that's kind of the answer everyone should have gone with, and I'm sure you did as well. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's a little iffy. I'm not sure where they're going with her anymore.
Yeah, so my initial thought with this character is that she was going to be like the new tech expert, right? Not in the field, but the way they're framing it here, it kind of feels like they might, like you said, turn her into a Batgirl, or she could even be a Robin. I mean, they're just kind of taking this to whatever direction they want to go.
That's true. Yeah, I guess I can. I don't know why, but I guess I can see her as more of a Robin than a Batgirl. So yeah, I guess I could see that.
So after that little scene and everything goes good, we get the texts from John that he found Harley, and this right here is where I thought, oh, the Joker is here. I mean, the Joker is,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Because he's in this carnival. Everything just reminds me of the Joker that we know. And you find him, and he's got dead bodies surrounding him, blood on his hands, blood all over himself, and he's just like, no, this was self-defense, and I just picked up and I started swinging, and then Bruce sees a shot in someone's back. He's like, this person was shot, and he's like, oh yeah, I grabbed the gun too, and it's just like, so you're like, no, I want you to
yes.
I don't want you to be the Joker. I want you to. We just had this conversation. We want you to be a good guy. But I'm like, look, something might have happened here, and I don't want to necessarily doubt him because I don't know the facts.
Right?
Waller could have come in here and could have set this thing all up. Who knows?
I'm thinking it's almost so it's the same thing. I answered every interaction with him, trying to side with him and being like, no, of course not, John. Of course it was self-defense. Yeah. But in my head, I'm like, this is not self-defense. I'm like, he's turning right now in front of our eyes. But then, just like you mentioned, well, you don't know because Waller is so off the rails that she might have gone. So I like to think in hindsight, thinking back now, it's a little bit of both. I almost feel like maybe Waller is pushing him to the point that he's going to become the Joker. And that's the thing. So I think, yes, he did shoot that guy in the head. Was that part self-defense? I'm going to say no. But maybe that first initial interaction was self-defense and he was trying to protect himself. And then just as it was unfolding, he's like, this feels good. This feels right. And then slipped a little too far over to the Joker side. And then when Bruce came in, he kind of snapped out of it momentarily.
Mm-hmm. Did you believe him?
I said I believed him, but I'm not entirely sure I did believe him. I think that's where I was mostly torn. Like I said, I was kind of answering everything to prevent him from becoming the Joker. So I was kind of giving him lip service, which he almost acknowledges a little bit too, that he's like, oh, you're just saying that kind of deal. So it's a little iffy.
Yeah. So you had that decision, right? Where it's like, I believe you or I don't believe you.
Yeah.
And so I chose the part where, look, it's not true. I believe what you're saying. I'm not using you.
Yeah.
And then, he goes to punch at you, or you have the option to punch him or dodge, and I dodge him.
I dodge.
I'm trying just trying to, keep hope alive, and I don't want to instigate the fight. And then the truth comes out that he knows you're Batman.
Yep.
Which, that was a great reveal moment too.
It totally was, because I didn't see that coming. And I don't know why, because you got to figure John's, I guess just the way they kind of painted his character, that he seems a little dim-witted, a little, in the weeds and not really getting everything that's going on around him, clearly because of what Harley's doing to him. But that moment there shows he's like, no, I know you've been manipulating me, and I know you're Batman, like, duh. So I wasn't expecting it to be like that blatant. Like, he's like, nope, you're Batman. I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I am. Like,
did you play it off, or did you accept that he knew?
I accepted that he knew.
Yeah,
because I don't think there's any way out of it based on what he, the proof he gave us. I'm like, there's not really any way you can rebut that, to what happened. So I accepted it.
Yeah, and I can't remember if it was here or later on, but they referenced the first episode where I knew you were bad when you shared her Slurpee or something like that. I was like, huh, that's a really good callback to a small moment earlier on.
No, see, I didn't have that because I don't think I took the Slurpee. I think that's why.
Ah.
He brought up for me the cafe and the fact that I took off the second the bat signal showed up in the sky.
Oh, and so in our conversation, he talked about me trying to help him to be himself when he talked with her. So yeah, that was kind of
which I did tell him to do that too, and I don't think he brought that up. He brought up the cafe, the coffee shop early in the morning when the bat signal came up. He's like, and you conveniently left right as the bat signal came up. And actually, no, I think he did say when to be himself too. It might have been both those facts he said, but yeah, he definitely brought up the cafe thing. I'm like, oh well, I can't really. Yeah, because he was in both places too. He went right from the cafe to meet Batman on the rooftop. So can't really deny it.
Yeah. So this whole scene in the carnival where you have this interaction with him was just masterfully written.
Yes.
Great. You have the choice to believe him or not, and this I think is the real linchpin point of what would happen. Like, if you didn't believe him at this point, does he turn into the Joker? If you do believe him, do you still have that chance to kind of save him from becoming that fate? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I almost want to replay it to select the other thing and see what happens, but yeah, I'm with you. It's like I'm not really sure because I feel like if you accuse him, I wonder how the final scene that we're about to get to plays out if you don't have his trust.
Yeah, and I think that the final scene we're here, we got Harley on the bridge, right? And Waller wants to just take her down, but you go and you try to talk to her, or at least I did.
I did too.
And then all of a sudden, John's like, you don't bring up her, because I brought up her father. And if you know anything about her, you don't bring up the father. And they start talking, and you can't really hear what's happening. But Waller's like, move in, take him down. I'm like, no, you got to give him more time. And then all of a sudden, you see that he's disarmed her, taking things down. I'm like, yes, this is exactly what I hope would happen.
Yes.
You get the same thing.
Yep, same exact thing. I talked to Harley. I did bring up the father too, saying like, "Hey, I know why you're after, why you're after the blood, and it's not going to do what you think it's going to do." And she's kind of like, "Shut up!" And she gets angry, and John, intervenes, and he's off, as you said, he's kind of talking to her. They're kind of like whispering and giggling and laughing, and you're like, "Well, this is going to end up bad." But then all of a sudden, he walks away with the dead man's trigger. So,
and then so I think Waller goes to attack him because he doesn't give her the vial.
Yes.
And he's like, no, it needs to be destroyed, which I agree. Like, this just needs to be destroyed. Like, yeah, that's the right way to think. But Waller is attacking him, and then he snaps a little bit. He's like, all you cops are bad type scenario. And then I'm running through the smoke trying to stop people from hitting him.
Yes.
And you get to the point where it's Waller, you save her, or you save John. Who'd you choose?
I saved John.
I did the same thing. I mean, you just look at the situation, and Waller was out of line.
Yes.
I really think that she was. And, I was playing this too with the fact that maybe it's not the Waller that I'm used to it being. And I was, holding out hope that this agency was better. It wasn't necessarily the Waller that we know of, but things are coming through, especially when you were talking to Agent Avesta, that things aren't as they seem. So I'm questioning her.
Yeah.
We didn't get any Gordon in this episode at all.
I was going to bring that up. I was really expecting during this portion for Gordon to kind of show up because, I mean, he's been just shamed in this, I don't want to say episode, in this game so far, and he's just not there. So I have to think he has to show up in a big bad way in episode 5. But then again, you and I have been waiting for 4 episodes now for Mr. Freeze to have his big moment. That hasn't happened. So, I mean, who knows? But yeah, I was really expecting Gordon to come in and actually help neutralize this situation as kind of his redeeming moment when Waller couldn't do it, that Gordon does it, but we don't see him. So
yeah, or I thought it would be interesting if Gordon would have come in and started shooting instead of Waller or something like that to make the Joker snap and kind of turn on the police. But yeah, so we both save John. Waller gets stabbed. She's fine. If John would have gotten shot, I'm not sure what would have happened. But like you said, I kind of want to play this again. You know what I mean?
Yes. See how different this is the first one that I felt this way. That I'm like, hey, I want to go back and I want to see the different option because I think especially you and I, being the fans that we are, we're just torn on some of the stuff. Where you're like, whoa, what do I
Mhm.
do? Like, I like John. I don't want him to be the Joker, but in the back of your head, you're like, I want the Joker. Like, so yeah, this is the first episode I've wanted to go back and replay and just see what happens. But yeah,
And when you get from point A to point D, where we are now,
yeah,
I wonder if like you side with Gordon unconditionally, like what happens, as things play out. I'm kind of like, and I've never wanted to do this with the Telltale game before because I always
Yes.
consider my playthrough, and that's
Yep.
it.
Yep.
But this is one where I'm just like, I want to know the rest of the story options. What could have happened and how vastly different might this have been? Because if this scene plays out with Gordon, if you would have made those choices differently, I really want to know like how that would look.
Yeah.
But so we get to the end of this episode, and I think is where he's the Joker, or John has the vial, and he just jumps off the bridge. Don't really know what happened to him. We know he's probably fine.
He's fine.
But let's go over some of our decisions, if you have them, and what actually was taking place.
Yep.
So I'm going to cough here for a second, and then why don't you tell me what Avesta, like where you were for her?
Okay, so with Agent Avesta, myself and 50% of players left her feeling determined. She was relieved that I didn't hold the fact that she told Waller my identity against her. She was impressed by my conviction about the Batman code, and she was determined after talking to me about destroying Riddler's blood. So she's in a good place with Bruce right now as a, I would say, a trusted ally at this point.
So for me and 50.6% of players, we left her feeling gratified, relieved that you didn't hold the fact against her that she told Waller the identity. She was understanding about your pragmatic approach to Batman's code, and she was gratified by your concern when you cautioned her about destroying Riddler's blood.
Okay, so we obviously made a different choice there about her destroying it.
Okay. So it's kind of nice to see that branching option there.
Yeah.
So what about Tiffany? So for me, and 43.7% of players left her feeling apologetic. Tiffany felt solemn after learning about Batman's code, and you left Tiffany feeling apologetic for questioning Batman's code. How about you?
Same exact thing. So, yeah.
Okay. And for John, now this is interesting because I really love the picture that they used.
Yeah.
When they showed this one. So for me, and 63% of players, we set John down the path of being a vigilante.
Yeah. Did not see that coming. So when I saw that word come up, I was like, oh crap. I'm like, you're kind of right, because the biggest thing was towards the end, John was like speaking for Batman, saying the two of us are going to clean up Gotham. And I'm like, wait, what? I'm like, you don't want to destroy it? You don't want to watch it burn? Like, but the choice, like you said, the picture where his face is kind of masked in the shadows and saying he's on the path of being a vigilante. I was like, wow, I didn't see that coming in that way, or seeing John really painted in that picture. But I'm like, I guess you're right, because he hasn't. So even if he did kill those people in the agency, we know these people following Waller's orders in the agency, like Waller's up to no good. Like, we know that at this point, like she's bad. And Harley's bad. So it's kind of like, well, the lesser two evils, but John is, even if he did kill his people, he hasn't killed anybody innocent or good per se yet. So yeah, he could be a more extreme vigilante. I mean, you look at, for instance, Arrow at the beginning of CW, he was killing people left and right with arrows, shoot him in the head. And then a couple seasons in, he's like, I need to stop doing this. And it can almost be looked at the same way as to what John's doing right now, just a little bit more off kilter.
Yeah, for sure. So for me, John was despondent when you told him that Harley betrayed both of you. He appreciated that you allowed him to leave to find Harley by himself, and you have earned John's trust, and he has vowed that together the two of you will clean up Gotham.
Yep, that same things.
So crazy. Like, it's just the way that they have taken that story and just twisted it just ever so slightly to make it this way. Beautiful. Like, this storytelling, this writing, this episode is fantastic.
Yes.
Alfred, he felt proud.
Yep, same.
Was grateful when you helped him up off the floor. You made him cheerful with the mention of a vacation, and Alfred was proud when you advised Tiffany thoughtfully about Batman's code.
Yeah, mine was the same, with the exception. So he still left proud, but the only thing different is Alfred was reluctant when I addressed his illness.
Ah, okay.
So I think I said something to Tiffany about something's clearly wrong, but I didn't. I think that was the one thing I messed up in this episode. Like I didn't realize what they were referring to,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't realize that he was referring to his illness as being the problem. I thought Tiffany was speaking more about this whole Harley and the agency situation as being a problem. So I answered it thinking it was that, and then Alfred got kind of a little upset about that. I was like, oh, I was talking about his situation. I'm like, oh, okay. And so yeah, I answered that incorrectly, but we still got the same result in the end. So
Yeah, I think with that, when they talked about the sickness, I asked him to tell her himself, and he just kind of brushed it off.
yeah, I think I said it. That was a mistake there.
Mm-hmm. For Waller, me and 74.4% of players left her livid.
Yep.
Waller was supportive when you showed focus going after Harley. She was irritated when you said that she shouldn't use the Sanctus tech.
Mm-hmm.
And she became livid after you sided with John on the bridge, which, I mean, she got stabbed in the process. But hey, she was trying to shoot him, and it was really unwarranted. So, yeah.
Yeah, and that's funny too. So I've been a little more on Waller's favorable side, I think, than you in the previous episodes. But now we're both in the same boat where she's pissed at both of us now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we're both in the doghouse. It's okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Freeze, did you lower the temperature for him? Me
I did.
And 94%.
Yeah.
Showed compassion. So yeah, I think everybody did that. It was interesting to see these numbers because most of them were all overwhelming like choices.
Yes.
The next one, did you trust John to find Harley by himself? You and 87% of players told John that you trusted him to find Harley by himself.
Mm-hmm.
And then the actually, those are the two big choices. So yeah, I mean, it was pretty great episode. What would you give this as a rating?
Oh, so this one, yeah, like I said, I mean, there were very little low points, I think, for me in this one. So, I mean, if I was given a numerical value, I'm going 95 on this one.
That's the same thing here. The only falter for me for this episode was that just kind of a stupid way out of the beginning scenario where they left you on the cliffhanger. That was just my one fault. But everything else was so good. No technical issues. Really great writing, really great acting on the voice side of things. Everything hit for me in this one except for that just very beginning where you get out of the freeze chamber. So yeah, 95 for me. Sounds unanimous for us. This is a fantastic episode.
Oh yeah.
You have the numbers for the other ones by chance?
I do not.
Okay. So I'm sure that eventually, like for the next episode, we'll probably give an overall score of the season as a whole. But this one felt like the strong episode, like very strong, very, very good episode. And man, I cannot wait to see what happens next.
And it's funny too. So after we did the last one, we were like, oh my God, this was the best episode yet. And then this one came along and we're like, this is the best episode yet. So, I mean, it's building up. And like you mentioned really early on I'm sad it's coming to an end. Like there's only one more left. And then we don't know. I mean, we don't know what TellTale's plans are. They haven't said that there's another one coming. So there may or may not be, who knows? I feel like there's a lot less people talking about this one than they were the first one. And that makes me a little sad, but hopefully they keep it going because they're doing some great things with this story. And we're seeing takes and storylines that we have never seen in Batman done before. And that's saying something because he's been around for a little bit.
75 years. 76, actually, I think now.
Yes.
So, but yeah, any final thoughts?
No, it's good. I mean, if you guys are fans of Telltale games or fans of Batman, you should be playing this one because this is great. I know some of the Telltale games have been kind of hit or miss lately, whether or not they've been good or whatever. I know Guardians left a lot of people disappointed or a little let down. So this has been very, very strong, and I think people should be playing. I'm hoping, we know PS Plus last month had Batman was for free. So hopefully some people played that didn't play it before and want to jump into season 2, if you will, because this one is even better than last year or last season, I guess.
Oh, totally agree. All right. So that's going to do it for us for this episode of the Batman. We should call this the Batcave Hangout or something like that. I don't know. We need to come up with a clever name.
Well, it would be really disappointing if we came up with a clever name and then like the next episode's the last one. They never do one again, so we never have to do this again. And then it was kind of just awkward.
So here's what we're going to do. This is our commitment to our listening fan base out there. If they do announce a season 3, we will come up with a clever name.
All right, fair enough. I think
That's
a good deal. I think it's a good deal.
Season.
Yes. Agreed.
Right.
We will have time to deliberate then.
Exactly. All right, so that's going to do it for us for this episode. Kevin, thanks for joining me. Do you have anything to plug? We don't usually plug on this episode, but why not? Just go ahead, just do it. This is the penultimate episode. We can do what we want.
That's true. We can't do what we want, and we're running the show. Nobody can stop us.
Donnie's not here.
That's true. Donnie's not here. Donnie's in Minneapolis, so he really can't say anything. He's cold.
See some foosball.
He is going to see some foosball. But yeah, I mean, just I'd say the biggest thing right now, and it's still continuing to grow, is go to playsomvideogames.com, join our Discord, jump in the chat. We have literally everything from just random stuff to comics and fine literature, as we say, to sports talk. So it's not all just video game stuff. It's a little bit of everything over there. So come hop in, hang out with us. We have a lot of people active on there. It's a good time. So just head to playsomvideogames.com, click on the Discord banner, and join us today, right now. Now, don't even wait. Just you right there. Start doing it now.
Did you do it yet?
I don't think they did it yet.
What are they waiting for?
I have no idea. You'd think they know by now.
I think they're just waiting for us to be gone so they can do it. Do you think?
I mean, maybe. Do you think we should wrap it up? I don't know. Should we just keep talking, or wait for them to finish, or let's glare at them in a disappointed stare, like your parents look at you and they're just disappointed till they do it.
Okay.
Wait. This isn't a video one. We don't do the video. This is just, man. This is, well. I guess we just wait.